I was thinking the other day, there's a story that I want people to know about because it was such a fucking injustice when I was younger, and there are two parts to this story. Now, I'll start with the first bit of it. Um, there is a cinema in Melbourne, and I had a friend when I was younger, about 12 or 13. We had an older friend who managed at this cinema. It was someone's sister. And there was an old woman who would come to this cinema frequently, and she was quite rude, and she'd be there every weekend seeing something, and she was this kind of rude old lady. One night she was in the elevator, and there was some sort of power outage at the cinema, and apparently there were two other people in the elevator, and the power outage went on for about 5 minutes, and then the power returned. But the old woman had panicked, thinking we're going to be stuck in this elevator and so on. And so the manager went, and the doors opened, and she went over, and the two people rushed out, and the old woman's standing there all shaken, and she sees in the corner is a pile of feces. So this old bitch had panicked and shat in the corner, and the other people had to like sit there watching this person pop a fucking squat. Even though she thought she was going to be in there for a long time, but it turned out to be 5 minutes. Could you imagine the internal feeling of those doors opening 5 minutes after, and you've already pitched a tent and taken a shit thinking the world was going to end? It's just outrageous. Okay, so the main story is that when I was 12 or 13 or something like that, it was my birthday, and I got some birthday money, and I wanted to take my close friend to the movies. And at the time, there was some Nicole Kidman film on. I can't remember what it was, if it was The Others or something. I can't remember what it was. And this was a time where her face hadn't been quite frozen completely by Botox, so it was kind of she could still sort of act and stuff, which was kind of, worthwhile to go and see a movie with her in it. And so we went to the cinemas, and we bought our tickets, and we used to go there often. They knew us there. Never caused any issues, just two fucking tween boys going to see a film. Like, what could go wrong, right? And so we get our ticket, we go up to the second floor of the cinema, and the time rolls around for the session to start. So we open the door of the thing to go in, and there's a movie playing. And so we close the door and then sit down, and then we recheck our time, and we're like, wait a second, like, this is the right cinema, this is the right whatever. And then all of a sudden a person comes out of the cinema we just opened the door to and said, are you the two that have been opening the door? Can you please stop doing that? And we're like, no, what are you talking about? And then he goes back in, and then a group of people come out really angry. And then one of them goes downstairs and gets the manager of the cinema, who wasn't the one that we were friends with, this is a different person, and went and got the manager. And then we were circled by about 4 or 5 people. It was like the manager and then four people. And there was the old woman who'd parked a darkie in the elevator, and like 3 men. And they were deliberating what to do with us. And we didn't even know what was going on. They were all like talking. And the old woman, I heard her say at one point, well, it was done with innocence. Like, bitch, what was done with innocence? Like, it was just outrageous to hear that. And it had the same preamble that I imagine that lynchings had in the United States, against African Americans. That was sort of the feel that we were getting, like what was going to happen. Like, I was thinking they were about to get a fucking noose out. Like, it seemed so serious. And so they had this discussion, and then they said, you have to leave, and because you've been interfering with the film. And we're like, what the fuck? We haven't been interfering with shit. We just got here, and we paid for tickets, and we're waiting to go in. And then the manager's like, you just have to leave. Like, you can't keep doing this. Like, can't keep doing what? Anyway, they all deliberated. The old woman initially was like, well, it was done with innocence. Like, she still was saying we were guilty, but that we were just kids. And that we shouldn't be hung, drawn, and quartered. She ended up turning, and the tyranny of the majority, and then they ended up kicking us out. And then so I'd paid for these tickets for me and my friend's birthday, and then we just had to leave. Like, it was just absolutely ridiculous. And I, obviously being not that happy with the incident, and being like, it was, it was a special occasion, I thought, fuck this. So we went home, got all butthurt about it, and then I decided, well, let's go to a pet store and buy 1,000 live crickets. And will really actually interfere with a session this time if they're going to do this thing where they kick us out for doing nothing. And so, yeah, we went to a pet store. We bought 1,000 live crickets. We put them in a backpack. And we went into a movie, and we, towards the end, we distributed the crickets all down the aisles and between the seats. We just poured them out, and we left the cinema. And I remember walking home with my friend after doing that and feeling so happy and virtuous, and like we'd actually made a difference, and we'd overcome this incredible injustice, of this lynch mob led by a woman who had pooed in an elevator, and we had really gotten them back. And I was so happy. It was like the first time I'd ever appreciated a sunset or been in love. And just before we actually returned home, my friend looked at me and said, "We have become cricket, the destroyer of cinemas," channeling Oppenheimer there. So I thought that was pretty impressive too. So on the 10-year anniversary of this incident, every 10 years, my friend and I, we get together and we go to the pet food store, and we buy 1,000 more crickets, and we rinse and repeat. And I remember the last time we actually did this, I left a note on one of the chairs in the cinema, and it was a quote from serial killer John Wayne Gacy, and the quote read, "Expecting warmth but feel there none. What's fun is fun, and what's done is done."